What's up, everybody? Welcome back into another edition of SSPN. We appreciate you checking out this premiere. If you're tuned in, Ethan, I'm back from Galveston. I don't know. I've got a little bit of redness on my face, a little bit of peeling. I don't think that you can see it
No, not
through the
really.
screen. Yeah, because, that's just how it always works out for me, Ethan. And, the other thing is I finally, for the first time in my life, somebody told me I was tan. And it's like,
Wow.
I get on here and still it makes absolutely no difference.
You're good, dude. I get it. We're pale princes, you and me. It's just something that we have to live with.
Yes, I'm going straight back to it in like 3 days. You know what I'm saying? But,
Oh yeah.
anyways, there's been some crazy news, Ethan. Since the last time that we talked, I know we both made reaction videos. I was just telling you before we started recording here that I, unfortunately, because I was in Galveston, having a pretty good time, I was not able to check out your recap, which makes me feel very bad, and I should be crying. You shouldn't be crying because you watched mine and
I
I didn't
watched
watch
yours.
yours. So,
It's
I'm
okay.
not real, and we can put that out there right now at the
Mm.
first in the first minute and 20 seconds
Jude's
of
not
this.
real.
But let's talk about it. I mean, obviously, I'll start, even though I'm asking you the question, because I just want to say that, like, as time has progressed, I have definitely like seen the other side of it much
hmm
more. It still really sucks, but I kind of understand. Not kind of. I do completely understand, like, just the position that they were in. This is the highest his trade value is going to be. And after we saw the interview that he did in his first press conference with Atlanta, I'm just remembering that as we're talking. It makes really a ton of sense
Yeah.
when you hear Dejounte's perspective on that, and not wanting to waste his years. It still sucks because I feel like he still is on that timeline and he could grow with these guys and be a part of them winning. But at the end of the day, um, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it after reading all that. What are your kind of thoughts on it now that we've had some time removed since your last video? Any change in thoughts or just kind of the same deal?
Not really. I mean, obviously, initially, like the rest of Spurs Mania, we were a little upset, frustrated, sad because it's one of those guys that we watched grow in the system from a late round project to an all-star caliber point guard. And you would like those kind of guys to stick around long term. But at this point in the Spurs timeline, with what DeJounte Murray was worth on the trade market, it was probably the smartest, most intelligent, decision we could have made for the betterment of the franchise. I mean, only time will tell. Obviously, hindsight is 2020, but right now, currently, it's the smartest move. Where people are worried is like Orlando Magic were rebuilding as soon as Dwight Howard left, they were rebuilding, and then a decade later, they traded literally everybody, and now they're rebuilding again. Like they've been
Yeah.
rebuilding for 10 years, and they just got the
You don't want to put away a good one. And this is
yeah.
one thing I was talking about with my friends is just that, I mean, like, the Basketball Hall of Fame is not that hard to get into. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if DeJounte keeps playing the way that he's going to keep playing, like, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. So there is like that aspect of it, which is just tough. It's a tough pill to swallow because DeJounte, you knew, was for sure like an all-star point guard that you could
Mhm.
rely on to guard the other team's best player every night and was going to get you close to a triple double. And even when he played bad, he was going to facilitate and do good things. Like, he had a very, I mean, obviously he's an all-star, so he has a high ceiling, but like his floor on his bad nights was something that you just really, were blessed with too when it came to his defensive ability. So I think all of those things combined, like, that made it tough. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if you look at somebody like a Josh Primo or even a Malachi Branham or a Blake Wesley with how young they are and where they were picked, you could make the argument that all of those guys have higher ceilings naturally coming into the league than DeJounte did. Obviously, DeJounte raised his ceiling through his work ethic and the Spurs'
Yeah.
development. But I mean, if they can do that with DeJounte, and obviously he fell due to all of the gang stuff that we talked about multiple times, but like, still, these dudes are ranked like in the same area that he was, if not higher rated prospects. So especially Primo. I mean, even though he came out of nowhere, but we saw how this year went for him. Um, I just feel like when you have three 19-year-olds, 6'5" and up guards,
Four if you count
yeah,
Primo.
well, there you go. Yeah. Um, well, I was saying other than DeJounte, like, at that time.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
then that does make it a little bit easier too. Obviously, this is a little bit different than the video that I made with my reaction, but still at the same time, it's just, when you take all of those things into account, it's tough because of who Dejounte was, but you can see where they're going with the state of the roster, the people they just drafted, and then you just look at the straight up value of it and the timing on top
Mhm.
of Dejounte wanting to go win, and just all of those things kind of made it the perfect time, I think, to do. Like, if you're going to do it, this was the time to do it when you have this infrastructure on the team, with all these young guards. And then on top of the fact that, he was ready to win. And
Mhm.
to be frank, he deserved it.
Yeah. I mean, that frustration that we talked about, the initial frustration, for me, Jude, it quickly turned into excitement because not only are we going to get to see 4 19-year-olds play probably significant time in our rotation, maybe not all 4 of them, but a majority of them, at least in the latter half of the season. We also have a possibility of getting into that top 3 in the draft next year because we are, so depleted um, with
The dude who
DeJounte
won all
gone.
our games, we just traded.
Yep, pretty much. So there's that possibility of getting a Victor Wembanyama or Scooter Henderson and pairing him next to Primo and Devin and Keldon and Malachi, like all these young players. So we'll get to watch that growth again. And this is a place that we haven't been as a franchise. I mean, you can count the '97 season when we got Tim Duncan, but I don't really count that one because that was really just because David Robinson got hurt. That was not a rebuild. That was an unfortunate situation.
Very good
So
point.
we haven't been in this place as a franchise since what, 1986, 87, when we drafted David Robinson. So
Probably, yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens, honestly.
I am too. I mean, and I think you can make an argument that the franchise has never been in like a specific position that they're in right now, because
Mhm.
even before David Robinson, you had George Gervin. So it
Yeah.
was like there were always these, there was one star at some point, even for a little bit,
There
you
was a
know,
brief like 2 or
like
3 year gap where there was
you,
nobody, but that's
yes.
it.
And even after Timmy retired, like you had the Kawhi year and then you had
Mhm.
that fiasco, but you still had LaMarcus and DeRozan.
Yep.
So, and even though that wasn't, that was a 7 seed at the end of the day, it's like we've still had these type of players throughout. It hasn't been just like a completely young roster with a
Mhm.
bunch of talent, because even in those 80s rosters, it may have been a young roster. Obviously, I don't know those off the top of my head, just being honest,
No, me neither.
but I doubt that they had like this much, young, first of all, this young of players, and
Yeah.
then second of all, these young of players with this much talent. So I think it's going to be very interesting to kind of watch and see which one of these guys emerges. And I think a theme that we've kind of talked about throughout the season, and just throughout like this kind of process since we traded DeRozan, um, is it seems like the Spurs are trying to find somebody in the rough. Like they're trying to just hit on one of these draft picks to
Mhm.
finally find a star to get them over the top. And I think that this was another play at that, because most likely the Spurs will be, even if they end up having a better year than we expected and win like 32 games or something, or even more than that, right? And have like a similar year to this year, they're still going to be hanging around in the lottery, with around at least a 20% chance. But I would say it's probably going to be more after trading Dejounte. You can almost guarantee that.
Mhm.
Um, but I did mention, I was like, man, if Keldon makes another jump, if these dudes all make another jump and we're in the play-in again, I'm not going to be like super, super mad, because the future will still be bright, but I will definitely be a little bit frustrated. Because it's like, if these dudes were all going to jump like this, imagine how they would play next to Dejounte.
Yeah.
But let's hope that doesn't happen, and most likely that's not going to happen. And they'll be a little bit higher up in the lottery, and once again we'll be able to kind of go up to bat and swing at somebody. And we got to do it 3 times this draft, and I'm just so excited to see these guys play coming up here in a little bit.
Mhm.
All just turning 19. Another update, not to change the subject, but Jeremy Sohan will be playing. He has been practicing. I mean, maybe
Very
not
exciting.
necessarily tomorrow, but like I'm pretty sure he's going to play in summer league at some point. I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
he's technically cleared it all, but the Spurs beat reporters were like, okay, but he's at practice, like
He's gonna
practicing.
play.
Yeah, like you know what I mean. So
Yeah, he'll be
I
there.
I don't think it was definitely too bad of a case there. So that's good. But I guess let's just have a little Dejounte, like, you know, this is his funeral, I guess. I don't know.
Mm.
Hopefully, it is his. We send him away to go train in the mountains, and he will come back a warrior in like
Like
two
Bryn
years.
Forbes.
Yes. Exactly like Bryn Forbes.
Mm.
But no, what he said though, I think was interesting. I mean, look, we don't know what's going to happen, but all I'm saying is we give these guys to develop. We let Dejounte go win, get that playoff experience. He's coming back, Ethan.
I mean, I hope so.
Did you hear what he said? He said that they'll be family for life, and they're
Yeah,
even more family because they understood my situation and traded me. So
maybe down the road.
that's what I'm saying now, and maybe not, but I'm just saying there is that door's not closed. There's a little peek there.
It won't be his next contract. It'll be
No.
his next contract, where
Yes.
because then
Yes.
he won't be worth nearly as much, and we can
Yes.
possibly actually pay him.
And we'll also have
A competitive
All-Star
team. Yeah.
Josh Primo, All-Star Keldon Johnson, and
Yes.
DeAndre Ayton. Um,
Oh, yeah.
but somehow
Jakob Poeltl.
we'll still sign Dejounte. No. Um,
Jakob averaging 20 and
maybe not
15.
Ayton, but definitely Primo and Keldon. And yeah, no, Jakob's actually going to go crazy and take a minimum
Mm,
for the
I'm down for
people.
that.
No. No, but what are some of your favorite Dejounte moments that you can just think off the top of your head here? Mine's
Oh.
shoving James
Yeah,
Harden.
oh, this is literally the first thing that came to mind. And, if I had to pick a second, the second thing that came to mind was when he chased that loose ball down this past season. He, like,
Mhm.
the only one that sprinted after it, and he somehow caught it at the end of the baseline. I think he passed it to Devin or Keldon, and they dunked it. But they just showed that heart, that hustle, that Spurs culture that he was able to embody so well. Gonna miss him a lot.
I am too, but I'm happy that he has somebody else who can help shoulder the scoring
Mhm.
load, have a lot more talent around him, and kind of help do something that hasn't been done in a while with the Hawks too. Because
Yeah.
really they had that Bud team that was out in the first round,
Mhm.
and other than that, they haven't really had much success in the postseason other than ATL's run 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So we'll see if Dejounte can put him over the top. Now Dejounte and Derek are going to be battling out in the Eastern Conference. Um,
Oh,
so
that's
that would be pretty crazy if we can get some playoff one-on-ones in like the
mhm.
semis between the Hawks and the Celtics next year. Oh, that would be very entertaining for Spurs fans. But I think I'll take us
Mhm.
back a little bit. Some other memories I have, not necessarily a specific play, but the 2017 Warriors, or maybe it was the 2016 Western Conference Finals. We were playing the Warriors, and I don't think it was. This might have been the same year Kawhi got hurt, or it might have been.
It wasn't 16 because we didn't play the Warriors in 16.
Okay, so it was 17.
We lost to the Thunder in 16, and then the Thunder lost.
Yeah,
Remember they
that's
gave up
right.
the 3-1 lead in the Western Conference Final, so it would have been 17 because that
Yeah,
was the year
and that was the Zaza
Kawhi got
year.
hurt. Yeah,
And even though after that injury, that series was kind of over, basically, Dejounte came in and made a lot of plays in
yeah,
that series. He got significant PT, and I think that was the first time I was like, "Oh, this kid's a player. Like he can come in
hmm
and make some plays as a rookie." Um, and so that's another good Dejounte memory. I'm trying to think if I had any more that come to mind. Probably just this year and him, like obviously, glowing up, but watching him over the past 6 seasons or whatever, just finally now like be able to pull up in transition and shoot a three and
yeah.
drain it. Like I think that was probably super satisfying for me
His All
this
Star
year.
game too. Every clip of his All
Oh
Star
my
game was really
gosh.
impressive. Like he
Yep.
wasn't nervous at all. Like he showed out, and it was great for the Spurs.
Yep. And he knew how to play too.
Yeah,
Well, we take, I don't have a book. I wish I had a book, but I'm just going to use 2K19 instead. Um, we had an open book with DeJounte.
it's closed.
It's closed, but it's still on our shelf.
Of
And
course.
we can pick it back up someday in the future.
Fingers
Let's
crossed.
talk about another new Spur, though, Ethan. Isaiah Roby.
Mm.
I was not expecting that
A
at
young
all.
stud. Me neither. It was a
Um,
very happy surprise, to say the least. He's not like a game changer, but a guy that can play power forward and defend 1 through 4 pretty much. I mean, maybe not one, but he can switch. He's switchable. He's not a huge scorer, only average like 10 points a game. Not a great free throw shooter, but he can space the floor. He's young. Uh, he'll play better defense than Doug McDermott, and that's really all that we can ask for. Really.
that's very true. And so with this one, I mean, it's kind of like you said. I was thinking about it, and I was trying to think, okay, what's a comparison I can make here? And the first one that came to my mind, just take a guess, Ethan. Who do you
Trey
think?
Lyles.
You got it, Trey Lyles. This is like Trey Lyles, but with a little bit more like insurance starting off because
Yeah.
he's already played more minutes, and has shown a little bit more. There's a video on YouTube if you guys just want to see him against our guys specifically, and it's literally like all of the possessions. I forget what the name of the video is, but it's 17 points, 12 boards, and it's all of his possessions, the good plays and the bad plays against the Spurs from one of the games during the regular season this year. So I went and watched that because obviously that's really cool to have that against our guys,
Mhm.
and obviously some things to work on, but still 24 years old. You're getting him for 1.9 million off waivers. He's going to be a restricted free agent, I'm pretty sure, next season. Has averaged 10 points in the league. Definitely, like I said, has some things to work on, but overall, a versatile 4-5 who can switch and guard some threes. Definitely a better, like you said, can play better defense than Doug McDermott. A bigger
Mhm.
body, has post moves, can actually go get a rebound, box somebody out, and go back up with it, even if they've got a little bit of height on them. Just much more of a modern four, but still
Mhm.
has that stretch ability. Not the best percentage, but if you go watch, you know he has a solid shot. And it's another thing where, okay, who can help him with that? Chip England. What could he maybe do? Get a little bit more athletic on defense so he's a little bit, faster on some of these switches and getting around. But I mean, he had one of his best games of the season on Jokic. Obviously, Jokic can be a potato on defense, but that's still the two-time defending MVP. To have a
Mhm.
game on him like that, he stuffed him twice on one play. Um, Ideally, probably he's just going to be a solid role playing, maybe can start plug and play for modern four. I don't really think that his ceiling is that high, but I think that he can have a really high floor. Um, and I think that the things that he could work on from when I watched his tape, it's once again those two things that the Spurs specialize in when it comes to development, in underdeveloped areas, and that's shooting threes and playing good defense. And I think he can probably get some more post moves with the Spurs as well. So I really like it. I don't think I think he'll probably get rotation minutes for us this year. I don't know if he's necessarily in our future, but I
Mhm.
think that when you look at the free agent market, where the Spurs are at, and this dude being on waivers, I think it's a great pickup.
Yeah, he's a project. Sort of like Zach Collins, but not exactly like Zach Collins because obviously Zach was coming off
Yeah.
of a major injury. Isaiah is not. The only reason he was waived, he didn't play badly. He's not a bad player. He just Oklahoma City drafted so many guys, and he's just
So
not
many
gonna
bigs.
so many bigs. He's just not gonna fit in the rotation. They got Paku, they got Chet, they got Ujman Jang, all these dudes. So like, where's he gonna get minutes? He's not. So the Spurs picked him up, someone that can come in and give us some nice minutes at that four spot. I don't envision him taking away minutes from Sohan, um, but I could see him taking minutes away from our boy Keita Bates Diop.
I'm not convinced of Sohan playing, dude. I want him to play, but just the way that, and I know that we just traded Dejounte, but I've
Yeah,
really just got to see it to believe it. Like I've got to see him not
yeah.
in the G League,
If we
to start the year. For,
we
for
have to start him. If we,
it's
I'm gonna be so mad if we don't because there's no reason not to.
at
There's
least play
no
him off the
reason.
bench. Like if you want to play Roby because he's
Yeah.
played in the NBA and start him, like I'm not mad at that, but I'm with you. No, and it's funny that we mentioned this because I actually made a note of kind of some potential roster. I don't even know how to describe this. Just like some potential lineups, like first string, first string, second string, and third string. Let me see if I can even share this tab. No, I cannot. Oh wait, can I? Can I share this? Unable to share. Wow, my
Mhm.
notes did not have permissions yet. Dang, because it was in my notes. But I'll just read it off to you. I had Primo, Devin, Keldon, Roby, Jakob. Right, so there's just a potential starting lineup. Right,
Yeah.
Trey, J. Rich, Doug, Sohan, Zach. Right, so even like, and I'm with you. Like, I'm totally open to starting Sohan and just getting him those minutes because he's 19 and has a much higher ceiling than Isaiah Roby. Granted,
Mhm.
I think Isaiah Roby, like we were talking about, I think he's a solid piece and could maybe even develop to a backup for years to come. Who knows? But yeah, I'm with you on that. I definitely think that he's got to be a part of the rotation somehow because the rest of the roster is Blake Wesley, Malachi Branham. I have Romeo on here because but I think he's still technically like up in the air. I don't know if he's officially on the roster. And then Wieskamp and Gorgie Jang.
Yeah. I just
You don't like unless we're playing Keldon at the four again. then you got to play Sohan. And he's the top 10 pick. He's the first top 10 pick. Like, there's all the reasons why you could. And we're tanking. Like, we just
Yeah,
traded
that's my
Dejounte.
argument.
Yeah.
If we
And
hadn't
I could believe it, but it's just because we haven't done it, it's still hard for me to, just be like, yep, that's going to happen. Because we just send all our rooks to Austin.
it would make me so upset if we didn't play him. I mean, if we don't start him, fine. Fine. You don't want to start a rookie? Okay. Sure. We're going to stick with this old way? Okay. Fine. I'll sign off on it. But
And
if
you
we
have an
don't
actual 4, like in Isaiah Roby now, too.
Yeah. But and I guess technically Keita Bates D-Up.
Oh my gosh. Keita Bates, he's coming off the bench, baby.
It would make me livid, Jude, if he didn't get playing time because there's no reason not to play him. We're tanking.
Keita Bates, actually, it's non-guaranteed. So he and Romeo are kind of like the weird ones where they're like technically on the roster, but like their contracts aren't guaranteed and they could get pulled. So technically the only 2 4s that we have on the roster as of right now are like on contract is Sohan and
Roby.
homeboy Roby. Yep.
You know what's funny? Roby doesn't even have like the excuse that we were giving Pop all those years. We were like, oh well, Pop just wants to run with the guys that understand his system. Roby doesn't. He's never been in the system, so he doesn't know the system. Like
he's been in the system as long as Sohan.
Yeah,
Sohan's actually been a Spur longer.
Exactly. He is the tenured vet at that 4 spot. We need to give him those minutes. Oh my
gosh. I agree. I think that we've just learned on the show today that that Sohan's actually the bet. He's been here longer. So by Pop's own, whatever you want to call it, he should be starting.
Just give him 35 minutes a game.
I agree.
Might as well. God.
Any final thoughts on Isaiah Roby?
I mean, good luck to him. I hope he plays well. I hope he can eventually be a rotational piece. Yeah, I mean, he's got all the tools. It's just, maybe he just needed a better situation than Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You're going to trust in the Spurs development, but at the same time, we know how it went with Trey Lyles and Chimezie Metu, baby.
Chimezie.
I love how the Kings just picked up both of them for no reason.
Yeah, they're like, we'll take the Spurs trash.
Let's hopefully let's develop Sohan and Roby much better.
Please,
but
God.
Let's talk about some other Spurs news that has just kind of been floating around the wings, Ethan. You wanted to talk about this, and this is really the potential of another trade incoming. We don't have any evidence. It's not like the Dejounte thing where we're getting Mark J. Spears Substack pieces, with intel. We've just really heard here and there that maybe Jakob's going to get moved now, which would make sense with this $9.4 million contract. And really, whenever it comes to just like on the floor, I mean, obviously Keldon is in my opinion, he's more skilled. He's going to be better than him. But like when it just comes to like helping a championship team, I don't know I don't really know where I'm going with this because Keldon could definitely help a championship team. But like he's a tenured vet center that's really good at defense.
Yeah.
And you could argue that like the offense was basically just him and DJ for a lot of the year.
Mm-hmm. You could definitely
running pick and rolls.
Yeah. The more I think about it, the more I believe that the trade will be at the deadline rather than before the season actually starts, because there's so much that's unknown that are like so many bigger moves that have to be made in the NBA. The Kevin Durant
that messed up
trade,
everybody, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad you mentioned this.
The Kevin Durant trade, the Kyrie Irving, the Russell Westbrook trade, the Phoenix. Like who's Kevin Durant going to go to? Is he going to go to Phoenix? Is he going to go to Miami? Is he going to go to the Raptors? We just don't know. Because I was
the league's waiting on it.
The league is waiting on it because I was trying to figure out like where would be the best fit for Jakob or Doug McDermott, because those are the two guys I think most Spurs fans think will get moved at some point this season. And I was thinking like, the Jazz could use somebody like a Doug McDermott or a Jakob Poeltl, because in the playoffs the Jazz were the worst 3-point shooting team, and they just moved off of Rudy Gobert. So those 2 fixes for them. But are they going to keep Donovan Mitchell?
By the way.
They just hired Will Hardy. What's going on in Utah? I'm going to pull what's that dude that just had that weird moment on First Take? Brian Windhorst.
Oh, my. The one where he's like this and
he's like they traded Royce O'Neal. They got Will Hardy. What's going on in Utah? Like he was just like giving this like really
I just saw the meme.
Take.
I didn't know that's what he was.
He gave this like 4-minute long monologue basically just saying that Utah's rebuilding. Like he took so long to get to that point, but whatever. but that's a possibility. I was thinking maybe the Miami Heat, if they trade for Kevin Durant, they're going to have to give up Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. They're going to have to give up three-point shooting. So that might open up a Doug McDermott trade. He would fit in there at Miami, or maybe a Josh Richardson reunion. We just don't know. The Phoenix Suns trying to move off of DeAndre Ayton. Who do they need? Just a shot blocking center.
Hmm.
Bring in Jakob Poeltl. Like, these are all moves that I could see happening. It just depends on what happens with that Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook scenario.
Yeah. I think you put it so well because that's really put the league on hold. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're recording this at 11:30 a.m. today, and we'll probably get some more moves because free agency, not the moratorium, just free agency itself, will officially start at 12 p.m. at noon today. So y'all will probably be watching this after that, and there may be even more moves that have happened. But still, the major there will be a lot of movement once those big moves happen. But apparently, I mean, this may be taken into the season. And you were talking about the deadline because with KD, I had some friends telling me that I forget what article it was, but basically there was some intel about how the Nets were not necessarily like they weren't tied to just accommodating him, right? Like if they didn't get an offer from the list of teams that he wants to go to that they liked, they're not going to take it. It's the same thing kind of with Kyrie. Now I think that one's a little bit more realistic because I think he wants to go to LA and Russell Westbrook is whether or not he may want to stay in LA, but LA doesn't want him to stay. So I think that one, and just because they're both like 37, $47 million contracts, I think probably they'll end up getting switched for reunions, if you will. But I think KD could still get traded somewhere too, especially with the prospect of a Tyler Hero. Like if Miami is willing to give up Tyler Hero, that's probably the offer that the Nets take. Maybe they take another one. You never know. Um, but the league is waiting on that. And it's just crazy how that all played out because it was like there were a couple moves made to start like the moratorium. Like it was mainly like contract extensions. And I'm forgetting some of the other ones, like Brogdon going to the Celtics, like a little bit of some other ones in there that are significant, but not like the big moves that a lot of the other moves usually come after. So we'll see if anything changes today with free agency officially starting. But there is some things that maybe this could go even longer, which would just be another testament to what you said about Jakob. But another great point too with Jakob and Doug, they may be going to one of these teams that KD gets traded to or Kyrie gets traded to. So it's been wild, man. And I just want to talk about the NBA for a second because $430 million for Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. I don't get it, dude. Like,
Me
I just
neither.
don't think that they're gonna like. It'd be different if Karl Anthony Towns was like a little bit skinnier, maybe like not even to be mean, but just like a little bit more mobile because he's a great center, but like a little bit more mobile and a little bit better of a perimeter defender, and you could really play him at the four. Then I'd be like, you know what, I rock with it. But Cat is like obviously a five, like
Yeah.
so you're just gonna be playing two dudes who don't really play perimeter defense that well, like. I know that obviously Rudy is a great defender, but I don't know if y'all saw the videos of him getting worked on pull-up jumpers by Wembanyama. So the
Yeah.
point is, like, these dudes aren't super mobile on the perimeter. I don't really know what they're going for here. Like, also, how are you going to pay Anthony Edwards? I mean, maybe they can with bird rights, but then your roster is three players. Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
then your roster is Rudy. I don't think you're winning a championship with Rudy Gobert, like
Mm.
Rudy, Cat, and Ant. I think Ant maybe with some other players could end
They
up
might
really
have to
good.
move off a D'Lo too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they're gonna have to do. They're gonna have
Yeah.
to. There's no way unless they're picking him over Anthony Edwards, which would
No.
just be. I mean,
Ridiculous.
that would just be ridiculous. Exactly. So I mean, I know this is a Spurs show, but I'm like, what the heck is going on in the league? And it makes sense that we're having to wait on a lot of these moves, and I think that's also holding the Spurs back a little bit with maybe some of these
Mhm.
trades that they want to make. But I'll shoot a question to you, Ethan, and I think this is a pretty easy answer. But I'm just curious, who do you think is more likely to get traded, Doug McDermott or Jakob Poeltl?
I'm gonna go Jakob, because I think more teams need what he can give you. Obviously, shooting is like invaluable in today's NBA, but Jakob has like an extremely
There's a
forgivable
bunch of
contract.
shooters.
Yeah, there are most guys have kind of figured out how to shoot in the NBA. Like, even if they didn't come into the league as shooters,
Hmm.
they figured that part of it out because they realize it's important. Jakob Poeltl being a 7-footer on a forgivable contract
Yeah.
that is like a top 5, top 10 defending center that can also play make out of the post. Like, he's not
Yes.
a great scorer,
And a
but
good offensive rebounder too.
oh, yeah, like, but he does a lot of things that, are beneficial for a team like a Phoenix, like a I don't know, I would have said Chicago, but they just brought in Andre Drummond, so I
Hmm.
think that trade scenario is a lot less likely now.
Yep.
But the point is he can offer a team a lot more, especially come playoff time, I think, than Doug
Yeah.
McDermott can.
Yeah. And he has that experience. We forget about the Toronto run, when he
Mhm.
was on the bench mob. So I think he could I mean, he can go and start for somebody, but he can also go play off the bench for somebody. I mean, he is a
Definitely.
plug and play center. He does all the dirty work, he does all the
Yeah.
little things, and it's not super valued, in today's stat heavy NBA. That's what I was trying to get to earlier when I was talking about like helping like a contender. I feel like there's an argument that Jakob is the second most valuable player on the Spurs to a contender. Not the
Yeah.
second most talented player on the team by any means, but just whenever it comes to having experience and making the right play, he's that guy. I mean, he's the next one. I mean, I think he just turned 27, 26. Um,
Something like that, yeah.
so he's getting up there and has a lot of experience. I say getting up there. He's super young, but
Yeah. I mean, a lot of teams could use him. The Milwaukee Bucks could
he's
use him.
26 still. He doesn't turn 27 until October 15th, start of the season.
Yeah, I'm
So
just
I mean,
looking at the
just entering
top
his prime.
teams. Just looking at the top teams. Milwaukee could use him. Phoenix could use him. Golden State could use him. The Mavericks could use him. The Jazz,
Yeah,
um, the Nets, the Raptors, the
the Mavs could
Sixers,
really use him.
the Mavs. That would be
But
nice.
let's not do that because it's in our division. But
Can you imagine? They'd have
if we
Christian
were the
Wood and
Mavs
Jakob.
GM, that would be great. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, there are a lot of teams out there that would love to have Jakob Poeltl on their roster. Even
Hmm.
the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers don't have anything that we would want. Let's get Lonnie Walker back. Lonnie Walker for Jakob Poeltl straight up. Um, but
We
there
didn't
will
talk about
be,
Lottie go to the Lakers. We got to talk about that after this.
yeah, there will be teams willing to give up 1 or 2 firsts, which is probably all we want
Hmm.
in return for Jakob Poeltl. And I mean, maybe it's less likely now because of what just happened, but the Hornets were wanting him, thinking that they could make a playoff push. I know they probably are going to lose their second best player because of the domestic violence situation and Miles Bridges. So maybe that
Oh
trade
my
is less
gosh, yeah,
likely, but they still need a center to pair up with LaMelo Ball. And apparently they were interested in Jakob at the deadline. So a lot of places that he could end up.
I agree with that. The Charlotte one, I think I saw this a while back before the whole Miles Bridges thing happened, which I don't even want to get into that because that was just I
No,
don't know if you saw
yeah,
it. It's just yeah.
horrible, horrific.
Exactly. Um, but hey, man, hey, Charlotte, you want to give us Kai Jones, or even if you don't want to give us Kai Jones, just make that 2023 pick unprotected.
We'll take it.
Just and we'll give you Jakob because that would be really great. Because that's
Yeah,
the thing. That's the thing about the Dejounte trade. Also, is when like the 2023 pick is unprotected. I think they are betting on him leaving the Hawks in 2 years,
yeah.
especially with the 2025 and 2027 picks, which I could see. And they have more intel on Dejounte, obviously too.
The
But
Wizards also just lost a center. Sorry to cut you off, but they
you're
just lost
good.
Thomas Bryant, so maybe
There you
maybe
go.
they're
Another team. But yeah, getting back to that, so many availabilities for Jakob. You don't even you don't even realize how many there are until you're listing them off while we're
Mhm,
recording this. And it's like, wow, he really can like just go to any team he wants. Or I mean
mhm,
not go to any team he wants, but we could really trade him to so many teams around the league. Like 20 teams are probably available
probably.
that could use him. So we can get something for sure.
Hmm. So I'm still looking at the all these teams, trying to figure out where his best place would be. The Cavaliers also could use him.
Yep.
Back up Jared Allen. That'd be
Hmm.
a dirty defensive front court. They'd have
And
Evan
you can play
Mobley.
Mobley. Yeah.
Mhm. Oof. Oof. Shivers. Shiver me timbers.
Lots of places for Yaka. But Ethan, you wanna talk about the summer league, which is starting tomorrow?
I do.
I just downloaded the roster. We're gonna go ahead and put it up on the screen here. We got the heights, the official heights. So Primo is 6'5", unfortunately.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out
I'm
the
just
starting
trolling.
lineup for
Uh
this,
huh.
and I don't know if you wanna start Wheezy at the 3
Hmm.
or if you wanna bring him in off the bench as a 6th man, but because something's gonna have to happen because we have 3 rookies. So, in my opinion, it's gonna be Joshua Primo, Blake Wesley, Malachi Branham, Jeremy Sohan, and Dominic Barlow. That's
I
who
think
I would want at the 5. Sorry,
I
continue.
no, you're good. You're good. I think that Wieskamp's going to start though, just because it's his second year in the
Yeah.
league.
Would you bring in Blake or Branham at the 6th spot?
Blake or at the 6th spot. Blake or probably Blake, just because he was
A
a little
later.
bit lower. Yeah, but I mean, they had him at 13 and 14 on their big board, so they're kind of
Yeah,
interchangeable. But I would just bring in Blake Wesley off the bench just so he can kind of run the point. And then, but yeah, that is an interesting question because we don't have, a ton of height. Are they going to start Dominic Barlow at the 5? Probably.
I would. I think I'm excited about Dominic Barlow. I like what he
Me
brings to
too.
the table.
Yes, and I think that overtime elite and all that stuff, the G League, that's just going to become more and more common. Right now, it seems a little like, oh, he's the social media account, like but some of these kids just got to straight up make money. Like
Mhm.
it's just a better decision for their families to go do
Yeah.
this. And this one, next year you're going to see a Sir and I think a Sear Thompson, who are going to be top 5 picks, are both coming out of overtime elite. So just think of it as another G League Ignite. And I think that was just such a great value signing.
Oh, definitely.
To to get him on a 2-way deal to develop him, still also only 19. And I didn't even realize he was 6'10". I thought he was more
Mhm.
6'7". So he's
He's a
somebody
big
that
boy.
we can really help develop, but is also switchable, can play on the perimeter.
Mhm.
Another thing though, getting at heights, Robert Woodard is 6'7", which I actually really like as well. And if he's going to be the other um, 2-way guy that we have, I mean, he's kind of a versatile 2 through 4. I thought he was 6'6", but him being 6'7", that allows him to play the 4 a little bit more. He can also space the floor. Um, and another person that I really like on this roster is Darius Days. He could be somebody that they end up starting at center. I know that sounds
Mm.
crazy, but he played that a lot at LSU. Yes, he's only 6'7", but you see the 240. He plays very big. And he can play the 4 also, obviously, too. But he's kind of like Isaiah Mobley, or not Isaiah Mobley, Isaiah Roby.
Mm.
Similar to
Yeah.
him whenever it comes to his play style, but a little bit more, I would say, athletic on the perimeter, and a little bit more comfortable out there. So I'll definitely be looking for those 2 guys to play the 5. But I don't really think these other dudes, the Javen DeLier and Josh Carlton, maybe Carlton because he played at Houston. Now that I do see that, and I know that the other guys from Duke, but I remember watching Carlton at Houston this
Mhm.
season. I don't really think those dudes are going to play too much. I think this is mainly going to be a lot of small ball out here, Ethan.
I honestly don't know anything about those other 2 guys, so I'm not even gonna pretend like I know their games.
I don't know anything about Javen DeLier, so.
But I think it's gonna be a really good team because we have those 5 guys that I mentioned. That's enough in the summer league
Hmm.
to get you a lot of wins, and I'm excited to see the poise that these guys play with, see what kind of skill set that they have on. I know it's not the NBA level, but it's like a jump above college level, I would say,
No,
Um,
definitely.
and they all of our rookies sort of play the same spot. Or obviously not Jeremy Sohan, but like Blake Wesley, uh, Branham next to Primo and Wieskamp. Like, who's going to step up? Who's going to be that guy? And is Primo going to show out? Because he's
Hmm.
going to probably be our starting point guard. Is he going to go out there and show us that, like, you're not going to miss DJ? I'm here. Don't worry. Like, I'm hoping that he really pulls up and plays hard because I don't want him to treat this like, oh, it's just summer league. I'm going to go through the motions. I'm a second year player. I want him to compete at his highest level because I kind of want to see what he's going to bring. Um, come this fall.
I think he's definitely going to do that. I think if we go into this though, we don't want to have too high expectations because there's
Mhm.
still going to be some mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
He's still like let's look at Homeboy's date of birth. He's still younger than everybody we drafted this year by like a year. Like, well, actually, no.
He's a
I
year
thought
older.
no, that's December 2002. I thought it was February 2002 when I first looked at that. But still, still younger than like everybody else that we drafted this year.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, is he still the youngest player on the
No,
roster?
no, 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 no.
No,
So, Sohan
that's
and Blake
Jordan Hall.
Wesley are born in '03. He was born in '02, so he's older than them.
Oh my gosh.
Same with
See,
Branham and Barlow. They're
y'all,
also
I'm
'03.
so sorry. This is why I got a straight 60 in college algebra. But don't worry, I passed. Um, but yeah, no, definitely older than them. I'm sorry. I don't know why.
Dude's like,
I don't know why
2002
I
is
would.
smaller than 2003.
Yeah, I know. That's literally what just happened. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, he's basically just as young, being almost born in 2003 as all those dudes, and is still the same age. So, and what was it? I think it was still there was something that came out that he's younger than like 8 of the rookies this year. It might have been 8 of the first rounders. I don't know, but we know that Josh Primo is young, and we know that he has a lot of potential, and we're looking to see more, Ethan. And the other thing that I guess I could see just like from him, it does look like he's been putting on some weight in the weight room. I'm excited to see
Mhm.
how that looks on the floor. And I'm interested to see. I'm pretty sure they're going to play him at point guard.
Yeah.
But if they don't, um, then that will be also telling. But I'm pretty sure they're going to play him there. And so I'm just excited to see him in this situation with a lot of dudes that he will most likely actually be playing with,
Yeah.
like on the Spurs in real minutes. Um, yeah, I'm just excited to see that out there and just, see what we can take away from it. It's obviously not going to be like actual NBA players. There'll be a couple talented rookies that he'll go up against that'll be fun. At this point in the season, it's just I think we're just happy to have basketball, and we're happy to see them playing basketball, against people that are, somewhat on their level, maybe a little bit below. This is just something that we can actually take away from, we can watch, talk about
Mhm.
it, and be like, okay, we can learn a little bit about our young guys actually watching this.
And
Which
from
in
Go
well,
ahead.
I was just gonna say in past Spurs summer leagues, like it's kind of been insignificant. Even when we won in 2014 with Becky and Kyle Anderson,
Yeah.
like none of these really mattered. It was like, okay, we have some players, but they're not really gonna play. This year, it's like, okay, we have like 5 guys on this roster that may end up being, rotation guys for us.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. This is the first time summer league actually means something, like, for the San Antonio Spurs.
Yep. Yep. Well, any other final thoughts on the Spurs here, Ethan, as we wrap this one up?
Primo gonna average a triple-double in the summer league. Watch it happen.
That's absolute facts. I think Blake Wesley's catching like 10 to 15 to 200 bodies
Ooh.
um, throughout summer league. But yeah, that came up fast. I feel like there was a bigger gap between the Salt Lake Summer League and the Las Vegas Summer League in years past. That might have just been
Yeah.
my memory failing me, but I felt like there was like a week or so in between before they started. But this year it's like, nope, that starts tomorrow, baby, and we've got the whole thing for like basically 2 weeks.
I'm not complaining.
Neither am I. Neither
More
am I.
basketball.
Okay, one more other NBA thing. Did you see Chet's debut?
I saw his highlights, I didn't watch the actual game.
I didn't watch the game either. I just watched like all of his highlights. And I know that it's just summer league, but I'm like,
Yeah,
yo, he
dude, that
was
guy's
making them look like fools.
I
Like
saw
fools, Ethan.
I saw a meme, or not a meme, it was just like a photo edit, and it was, Chet in his OKC uniform
Uh-huh.
walking toward, Victor Wembanyama in his Spurs uniform, and it was like the rivalry for the next 20 years in the Western Conference. I was like,
Oh my
"Please,
gosh, that
please."
would be insane. The thing is, I would kind of like that because it's like I feel like out of every team in our division, OKC is probably the team that like I dislike the least. I feel like we have the least rivalry with them. I know that they had like the KD days, but I feel like the Mavs, I don't know, the Grizzlies and the Thunder are kind of bunched into the same category, I feel like.
If
But
we
it's
d
they're not a Texas team in
Yeah,
our division. That's
yeah.
the thing.
If we give Victor Wembanyama, how crazy is our division gonna be? It'll be us with Victor, Houston with, Jabari and Jalen, and
And
then
then Luca and
Luca
Ja
and Chet and Ja. Like, oh my god, we're
and
loaded in
Jaron
that
Jackson
division.
Jr. But hey, I mean, wasn't there like a finals or not a finals? Wasn't there a postseason like kind of in that like '09, like early 2010s era? I think it probably was the early 2010s where there was like every team from our division made the playoffs.
I think probably
Yeah.
2011 or 12.
Hmm. Yeah,
'Cause
because you had the grit
yeah.
and grind Grizzlies. You had the obviously the OKC, the Harden, Westbrook, Durant OKC. You still had Dirk and the
Mhm.
Mavs. You had Timmy and the Spurs, and then who am I forgetting here? Oh, Harden and the Rockets.
No, Harden wasn't there
Well,
yet.
Harden wasn't there yet, duh, because he's on the Thunder. Who was there? Was
It
it
could have
like
been
the
2014 or 15, or he
yeah
went 2014 was his first year with the Rockets.
yeah? So it might have been that year. I don't
Or
know.
was
I
it
still feel
2013? I don't know.
I don't know. We could go on and on. But
Yeah.
anyways, y'all, we appreciate you guys so much for tuning into this episode of SSPN. We will be back with another live at sometime here in the future. But please leave your comment on what is your favorite Dejounte memory below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today. And then also you can follow us on Twitter at Jude McLaren, at Ethan_Quintero to stay updated on everything SSPN. We appreciate y'all. We appreciate all the growth, all the likes, all the subscriptions lately. We'll keep the content coming out, and we're ready for Spurs Summer League, y'all. We'll keep y'all posted.